Locac meeting. And let me get this off the screen. Okay. So let's do a roll call. Sue, could you do roll call for us?
Sure. Trish.
Present.
Sandra. Here. Okay. Lynette. Okay. Deborah.
Present.
Thank you. Yael.
I'm here.
Jan.
Yes.
James.
Here.
Larry.
Present.
Tim. And then I see Jim Stanfield is in the waiting room, so I'll mark him here. Hi, Jim. Okay, thank you. So Lynette right now is the only one not here. And
Perfect,
Tim.
thank you. All right, as far as chairman announcements, I do not have any announcements tonight. Let's go ahead and go to council member announcements. Any council member have an announcement?
Well, I'll just remind people that this is my last meeting with as a member of Locac, that I'm stepping down after 5 years. So just want to remind people of that. I already announced it before.
Thank you, Yael.
Yeah, thank you, Yael. I'll follow up with Yael and say that I am also going to have to step down from Locac. I'm dealing with some medical issues right now, nothing life-threatening, but it's not really allowing me to participate and plan for the meetings in the manner that I like. So I've really enjoyed working with the group, but tonight's going to be my last meeting.
That is more than sad.
Yeah, we're sorry to hear that, James. I hope all goes well for you.
Yes, get better.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right, are there any other council announcements? And please, no more like that.
Well,
Okay, then let's go to county and local aid agency reports. First one would be Sergeant Doughty.
we need to unmute him.
I found him. I unmuted.
Oh, there we are. Sorry, it wouldn't let me unmute myself. Yes, Ian Dowdy with the Sheriff's Office. Sergeant over here at our coast station. So for Los Osos, calls for service, for February, we had 63 calls for service, 4 calls of assault and battery, 41 calls of disturbance, which would be any type of, from a loud car to a party to a fight, 3 burglaries, which I believe were vehicle burglaries, 9 thefts, 4 vandalisms, 1 mail theft, 3 phone scams, 13 suspicious circumstances, calls for service, and 37 enforcement stops, which would be traffic or pedestrian stops, and 39 preventative patrols, which would be extra patrol or vacation check. For February, those phone scams, and I think they came either at the end of February or beginning of March, were generally calls to folks saying that they had a warrant and that to send money via green dot cards or something along those lines, which is ones that we've seen before, but unfortunately still happen. And they can make 1,000 calls, and if they get a couple people to send the money, then they'll keep doing it. Handful of catalytic converter thefts that are starting to pop up kind of at the beginning of March as well, which I know are a regular thing in Los Osos. And really that was it. Nothing other major or critical, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for this sergeant from the council? Any questions from the public? I don't see any hands up. Great job. Thank you so much. We appreciate all the information.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
And just
Yes.
just a reminder for people to raise your hand, you go to the reactions button at the bottom of the screen. And there should be the raise hand option, or you can wave frantically and I'll try to find you. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Captain Klingenberg. There you are.
I am here. I'm sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. So for the month of February in the Los Osos area, we had 5 collisions. One of those collisions was a DUI related collision where that driver struck a mailbox and then another parked vehicle. The driver did not sustain any injuries. However, we did arrest him for DUI, and that occurred on Los Osos Valley Road, 260 feet west of Palisades. For the other 4 collisions, those were non-DUI related. And we're, like I said, a lot of times we include collisions that are on Los Osos Valley Road, but not necessarily in within the confines of Los Osos itself. So this one was at Los Osos Valley Road, just east of Foothill Boulevard. This was a minor injury collision where one vehicle struck the rear of another vehicle, and the 2 parties complained of pain in that collision. We had a collision also on Los Osos Valley Road, east of Doris Avenue, where a vehicle struck a parked vehicle, and after striking the parked vehicle, that vehicle fled the scene, and it does not look like we have any sort of information on the suspect vehicle in that collision. And then we had one also on Los Osos Valley Road, west of Foothill Boulevard. 2 people sustained complaint of pain injuries in that collision as well, and that was an unsafe turning movement at that time. And then very limited information on one that occurred on February 25th, and the let's see, on 6th Street in the intersection of Santa Maria Avenue. And all I can say at this point about that collision is that there was one that occurred, but I don't have any information related to the parties or the injuries in that one. So that's the report. 5 collisions for the month of February in and around Los Osos.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the council? Any questions from the public? Well, you got off easy tonight.
I sure did. What is that about? Well, I do appreciate all your service, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Corey Hahn from the Planning Department, looking forward to your report.
Hi, everyone. This is Corey with the Department of Planning and Building. I do have a few items. So could I be allowed to share my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, let me just see how I can do that. Okay. Let's see. Can you share now?
Yes. So last meeting, I promised that I would bring back, I would go over some of the common terms and processes that we have in the county. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so some of these will be pretty self-explanatory, but I figure it'd be good to just kind of go over it for in case, members of the public that may not have heard these terms before or is not familiar with the differences between them. So I just want to start off by just saying, the coastal zone, the county has basically 2 category of areas that we have jurisdiction over. There's the inland area, and that's everything outside of the coastal zone. And the coastal zone is the area where we kind of share jurisdiction with the California Coastal Commission. And the community of Los Osos is wholly located within the coastal zone. There is a difference between that and the coastal appealable zone, which are areas within the coastal zone where decisions that the county makes on development could be appealed to the California Coastal Commission. And not all of those OSOs is located within the coastal zone, the coastal appealable zone. So you may hear sometimes when you speak to county employees, specifically planners, when we say the CZ, that's the coastal zone, and CAZ, that's the coastal appealable zone. And I can also share a map of what the coastal appealable zone looks like. Let me just switch my screen here to that. So this is a admittedly difficult to read map. It's a very old map. But this is an official map. This you see here, got signed by very important people and everything. It's the certified map for Los Osos. And you see here in the legend here at the bottom left corner, if you can see my cursor, appeal jurisdiction. So that's all these gray areas where the areas that are considered the coastal appealable zone. And we're working with our GIS team to get this mapped on our GIS system. So hopefully in the future, it'll be easy for people just to type in their address or APN, and they can find out whether or not their property is located within the coastal appealable zone. Is there any questions on this map so far? Or on
There's no streets.
Yeah, can you?
Yeah, it is very difficult to understand exactly, where things are. It is a really old map, which is why we're working with our GIS team to get that mapped on our land use view service on our website, so that people can just type in their address and APN and get that searched up.
Is the east boundary is South Bay, or it's past South Bay?
Which are you talking
East
about?
side, the east side boundary, where it says boundary on the right of the map. You can minimize it a little bit. Smaller, make it smaller. You see boundaries below, yeah. So you can see boundary. What is this like
So-
South Bay?
So that
The
boundary
right.
is the coastal zone boundary. So that's the
What-
entire, so as you can see, the coastal zone right here, this outer outline, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor.
Yeah, we
I'm
can.
kind of,
Yeah.
kind of tracing it. That's the coastal zone. And then all the gray areas within that, those are the areas that are considered appealable versus the white areas, right? Those are just, within the coastal zone, but not located within the coastal appealable zone.
So you have no idea if the boundary is coincided with South Bay, because we can see that it's coincided with Los Osos Valley Road crossing Los Osos, but between the white area and the gray area. But do you have any idea? Can you check and let us know if the east boundary is how far past South Bay it is?
I would have to overlay it with our urban reserve line to
Mhm.
give you an exact which street the cutoff is.
Mhm.
As you can tell, it's really hard to tell from this map. That's why sometimes when people come in and ask questions, I say, "Oh, is my property appealable?" It takes some time for us to determine that, because these old maps are pretty hard to read. I see this Patrick has his hand raised.
Well, I was going to let you finish your report and then we'll go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can take questions as we go along, or I can finish everything. Either way works for me.
Why don't you finish your report?
Okay, sounds good. So let me switch back to the terms. So then, now that we've established what the coastal zone and coastal appealable zone is, I just want to move into our terminology for the various plans and programs that control regulation, regulate our land uses within the coastal zone, and more specifically, Los Osos. So our local coastal program, which we very commonly call LCP, that basically was established by the California Coastal Act. Well, sorry, let me restate that. The California Coastal Act of 1976 established the Coastal Commission, which requires them to work with local jurisdictions to come up with the local coastal program. So the local coastal program is the, think of it as kind of like a general plan or general regulatory document that controls regulations in the coastal zone. So the local coastal program consists of several parts. It consists of the local coastal program policy document, and that is directly related to the Coastal Act of 1976. It consists of the framework for planning, specifically the coastal zone. So that's part of our general plan. It consists of the coastal zone land use ordinance, which we'll talk more in the next bullet. And that's what we commonly call the CZLUO. So that's the or kind of our implementing tool to implement our general plan. And then there are the more specific plans, which is the coastal zone area plans. So all four of these documents come together and make what's called the local coastal program. And every time we want to make a change to these documents, it requires us, the board, to take action. And that action is then sent to the Coastal Commission for their certification. So the process can take quite a bit of time, as we're seeing with the ADU ordinance, for example. So what that looks like is when we move down to the land use ordinance, this bullet right here, when the board adopted the ordinance for ADUs in the coastal zone, that's our local ordinance. And it doesn't go into effect unless it gets certified by the Coastal Commission. So what happens is we send that adopted ordinance as a package over to the Coastal Commission. They work with us to give them, they give us their comments. They work with us to address any concerns that may arise through their review. And then they eventually take us to a hearing, the Coastal Commission hearing. And at the hearing, they decide essentially whether or not they want to certify the ordinance. If they certify it, it goes into effect. If they don't, they usually come back with recommended modifications. And those modifications then get sent back to our board for their consideration. And then the board will determine whether or not they want to take up those modifications. If they do, then it gets sent back to the Coastal Commission for them to receive, acknowledge, and certify. So that's kind of a quick and rough rundown of how an ordinance amendment goes. The ordinance amendment is basically the ordinance is basically our primary tool for implementing our goals, objectives, and policies of our general plan. So think of the general plan as kind of like the overarching vision for the county, and the ordinance is how we get there. It actually holds the meat and potatoes, the actual standards and regulations that apply to developments and properties. And so you might hear us talk about different titles of the code. So Title 22 is our inland ordinance, and Title 23 is our coastal zone ordinance. Since Los Osos is located entirely within the coastal zone, Title 22 would not apply at all to Los Osos. We would only be looking at Title 23. So in case you're ever curious as to what a certain regulation is, and you look on our county website as to maybe you want to look up the ADU regulations or look up setbacks, heights, make sure that you look at Title 23 and not Title 22, because Title 22 will also have those standards, but it won't apply to the coastal zone. So the land use ordinance is kind of the general rules, general regulations. And then when we get into the area plan, it gets a little more specific. So the county is divided into different geographical planning areas, and the area plans consist of policy, programs, and regulations as well, but specific to those areas. So Los Osos is located within the Estero area. So there's 4 different areas: the North Coast, Estero, San Luis Bay, and South County. Los Osos is within Estero. So that means that when we are looking at specific standards to Los Osos, we need to look at the Estero area plan. And then some of you may be wondering how the Los Osos community plan fits into all this. So the Los Osos community plan will be included when it's certified as part of the Estero area plan. So that's the that's going to be basically another chapter within that plan, and all of the existing regulations would either be removed or modified to reflect what's in the adopted and certified Los Osos community plan. So now that we went over what the coastal zone and coastal appealable zone is, and also the various programs and plans, I want to move to talking about kind of the more nitty-gritty things. So what each property can do. So the first thing we want to look at usually is the land use category. And so you might hear the term zone. The county technically doesn't have any zones, but we have land use categories, but they essentially mean the same thing. So when you look at your property in our land use view service on our website, for example, you type in your address or APN, you can pull up your land use category. And that basically tells you what zone you're located in. And that indicates to you what type of development can go on your property. So examples of that include residential single family, residential multifamily, residential suburban, commercial retail. These are kind of the more common zones that you'll probably see in the urban areas. And that will give you indications on our what we call table O, which basically our allowable use table. You can essentially match up what zone you're in with the use you want to achieve and determine whether or not it's allowable on your property. And when I say allowable, it could be allowable by right. So that's, those are called our principally permitted uses, or it may require a use permit of some sort. And I'll go over what those use permits look like later on in this presentation. So land uses, to distinguish from land use category, the land use category is a zone. The land use itself is what actually is the land, premise, or building is designed, arranged, or intended for. So there are essentially 2 different categories. There's the principal use and there's the accessory use. The principal use is the main use of your property or building. So think of it as like your single family dwelling. So like on your property, you have your conventional main house. We call that single family dwelling, but you may have other accessory uses that are incidental or secondary to that main use. So those are your guest houses, your garages, your workshops. Those are uses that are allowed to serve your main use. So, imagine just a vacant property. You first have to establish a main use, such as a single family dwelling, before you can establish any of the accessory uses. So we wouldn't allow someone to build a garage, for example, without first establishing the single family dwelling. And then so here are some common residential land uses. As I touched on already, the single family dwelling, which is the principal use, that's basically a building designed for one household. It contains, living facilities, kitchen, bathroom, things like that. And a very common theme or common discussion point, ADUs, accessory dwellings. That's similar to a single family dwelling, but it's considered a secondary use on the property. It's not you cannot establish an ADU on a vacant piece of property. You have to first establish your single family dwelling before you can establish the accessory dwelling. And that's different from guest house or home office. So a property can have a single family dwelling and then it can have an ADU or a guest house. You can't have both. You have to have one or the other. The guest house is similar to an ADU because it's smaller in size compared to the main house usually. But there are some differences. There's no kitchens allowed and there's no laundry facilities allowed. So those two things are the biggest distinguishing factors from ADUs and guest houses. You might also hear the term home office. Home office essentially is the same thing as a guest house. They are regulated by the same exact section in our ordinance. So they're pretty much interchangeable. And then there's workshops. You probably heard, of people building workshops on the property or having workshop on the property. That's separate from an ADU or guest house because that's not habitable space. So ADUs and guest houses are actually areas that actually buildings that people can live in, versus a workshop or studio is an accessory use where it's really just for engaging in hobbies, arts, crafts, light hand manufacturing, mechanical work, things like that. It's not a place for someone to live. Although, a very popular thing nowadays is some people converting their workshops or garages into ADUs. So that requires a permit, and there's different regulations essentially that they will have to follow to convert that into a habitable space. And then there are the permitting to establish these uses in these buildings. There are two main categories. There's land use permits and there's construction permits. So land use permits are issued by the planning division, and the different types of land use permits are the zoning clearance / plot plan, minor use permit, development plan, or variance. So the purpose of these land use permits is to basically allow the applicant, if approved, to establish a land use. So that means establishing a single family dwelling, for example, or establishing a business. Many different things that people can do depending on their land use category. When it comes to the review authority for these various land use permits, zoning clearance / plot plans, those are ministerial level reviews. So that means that they're approved at the staff level, planning staff level. It does not require a hearing. Basically, if the application and plans, if they meet all of our ordinance requirements, our area plan requirements, we're supposed to approve them because they're basically, it's pretty prescriptive in the way that we have to review them. And that's different from the minor use permit, development plan, and variance, which all require a hearing. So the minor use permit and development plan are just two levels of the land use entitlements applications that we have. So the minor use permit, that's even though it's discretionary, is reviewed at the planning department hearing level, versus the development plan, which is basically equivalent to what's called conditional use permit. That's a discretionary permit that's reviewed at the planning commission level. So 2 different levels of review. The planning department level is lower versus the planning commission hearing level is a little more scrutiny at that level. And then a variance application, that's different. Although it's an entitlement and it's land use permit, it is different from the rest of the others because zoning clearance, plot plan, minor use permit, development plan, all of those are basically when people apply for them, those applications are reviewed against our code, and they are either approved or recommended for approval if it meets our code. Versus a variance is when someone has an exceptional situation where they're requesting to deviate from the code. So if they're approved, it would mean that they are going to be allowed to, under extraordinary circumstances or exceptional circumstances, be able to develop without meeting our code exactly. And there are certain findings that need to be made in order for that to happen. Now, in contrast to a construction permit, the land use permit, that's to establish a use. But a construction permit, that's to actually build something or actually do something to the physical, the property itself. And that could be in the form of actually building the structure, grading, electrical, plumbing, or demolition. So, and all of those permits are ministerial. They're done at the staff level because all of them are prescriptive. If you meet the minimum requirements of our building code, Title 19 of our code, then it passes muster and it would be approved. And so that's what I have for the common terms. I have other items on my list that I'm supposed to cover, but I figure I can probably answer questions on this first before I move on to those items.
Okay. Can you stop sharing screen for a moment and then we can see hands that are up? Thank you. Anyone from the council who has questions for Corey? Yael.
So I still don't understand what's the difference between the ministerial permits versus the minor use permit. I really tried to, I was listening, but I still don't know what defines what is the criteria for these differences.
Yeah, sure. So there's a few things. It depends on what we're talking about. So in general, ministerial means that it's the request, the application, the request in the application is not as, I guess, not as substantial or has less concern, less potential issues. So usually like smaller projects are gonna be ministerial. Think building a guest house usually is gonna be ministerial, unless it's located in a coastal appealable zone. Or like building a garage or making an addition to your house. So smaller projects in general are going to be ministerial versus larger projects. Let's say building a large commercial building, for example, that's going to typically require a minor use permit or conditional use permit. There are cutoffs in our ordinance, so I can pull that up so that we can all look at that together.
So no residential house, a full residential house can be ministerial? You didn't mention that.
What was that? Can you please repeat that?
You mentioned commercial that cannot be ministerial, but what about a residential house, not a guest house, not an ADU? A whole house.
So typically a single family dwelling would usually not require a use permit unless it's located in the coastal appealable zone. So if it's not located in the coastal appealable zone, then usually it's just a ministerial permit. Or if they're building several units. So let me show you the cutoffs.
Because I think from being on land use for all my years on Locac, I think it's almost reverse from what we've experienced. So it's really confusing.
So this is a table in our land use ordinance that shows the permit requirement. So for dwellings, as you see here on this row, usually if it's going to be 4 dwellings or less, it requires a plot plan. So that means it's ministerial. So plot plans are ministerial. A 5 to 24 units would require a minor use permit, and 25 or more units would require a development plan, also referred to as conditional use permit. They're used pretty interchangeably. This is assuming it's not located in the coastal appealable zone. If it's located in the coastal appealable zone, then it would require a discretionary minor use permit.
Isn't that the table from San Luis Obispo, the city, not our zone, not our area?
No, this is in Title 23 of our coastal zone land use ordinance.
Is Title 23?
Yeah.
Huh.
You can find this on our website.
No, I
I
know
can
you
also-
sent it to me, and I thought that that was actually okay.
All right.
I'd like
probably
some
have-
other people from the land use committee to think about it, because we always, everything that we are seeing is in the non-appealable. I think. I'm not sure. Can other members?
Well, you know what, let's, we can talk about that in land use, but for tonight's meeting, we need to let Corey go in a few minutes. So any other council members that have questions for Corey on what he has talked about tonight so far? No. Okay, what about
Oh, I just,
Sandra?
yeah, I just wanted to clarify based on what you said and make sure I'm hearing it correctly. So basically principal and secondary developments that are not in the coastal appealable zone are ministerial.
It depends on what it is. So we have a table that it's called Table O, and I can share that with everybody. Basically, you want to look at what land use category you're in or what zone you're in, right? And match it up with the use you want to establish on that table. And on that table, it'll indicate whether or not, if it's a principally permitted use, then it's basically means it's allowed by right, right? Versus if it says that requires a minor use permit or a conditional use permit. So those use permits, those minor use permits or conditional use permits, those are discretionary applications. So usually if it's referred to Locac, an application is referred to Locac, it means that it is discretionary. Because ministerial applications would, if it meets the minimum requirements, it would not require a hearing and thus would not be referred to Locac. So let's say someone wanted to build a guest house, for example, and it's not located in the coastal appealable zone, and it's it meets all of our minimum requirements for guest house, then that would just be a staff level ministerial permit, and that permit would not be referred to Locac. Versus if, let's say, it's a guest house, but it's located in the coastal appealable zone. So if it's located in the coastal appealable zone, then it gets elevated to a minor use permit, which is a discretionary permit. In that case, it would be referred to Locac for recommendation.
All right, we have Lindy up. Lindy?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Good evening, Corey. Thank you for a very complicated, pretty confusing information. But I guess I still wonder why we spend more time looking at little porch additions than we actually look at full residential processes. But now I understand it's because of the coastal zone areas that you consider ministerial. I believe Carrie Brown suggested that we were going to begin getting a list of all the ministerial permits that are issued, which would include tree cutting. Is that going to happen?
Yes, I had a meeting with our InterGov team, which is basically our, they handle our permitting systems. They're able to run the report. So starting next meeting, I'm able to show that report to Locac.
And can you send it to us?
Yeah, I can send it ahead of the meeting. So like when the agenda comes out or before the agenda, I can send it out to Locac, and then we can share it as appropriate at the meeting.
And Corey, I think what I would suggest at this time, what you're presenting is the information we've asked from you, and it's perfect. What I think would be very beneficial is if you could also come to a land use meeting, go into more detail with them. And we can reach out to you and let you know when the land use meeting is, and then work with them so that we totally understand what's coming, what we're responsible for, how we should be directing it. And then that can come here to Locac. But it always goes to land use first. And if you don't mind, I think we'll end tonight here. But your report was excellent. I'll let Patrick, of course, talk. But then if we could set something up with land use, and then we can do a brief Locac right after you help educate the land use committee.
Sure.
Okay, and Patrick, you are on.
Thank you, Corey. A very nice presentation there. Could you go back to your screen share and go back to the map? So the northern part of Baywood Park, you have a straight line going underneath the shaded area. Do you know what road that is? Or if that is a road?
I would have to look into more detail. As you can tell, this map is hard. It's hard to really know. I can probably
Santa Maria, I think.
I might be able to
No.
put up relatively quick.
Well, that's okay. So just when you come back with the land use committee, maybe you could have that answer on that. Could you go down? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. What was the question?
Could you go down to the slide that had the guest house on it?
That had,
Talked
okay,
about
yeah.
guest house.
One second, let me switch over.
Okay, so we have that the guest house may contain, and you said guest houses and home office space are basically the same. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so they may contain a bathroom and other living spaces, but not kitchen facilities. So would you describe what a kitchen facility is?
That's essentially having a range and hood, because you could have a wet bar. So that's like a single compartment sink, but you cannot have the range, hood, and oven and all that.
Okay.
And then you could also have a under the counter fridge, but not like a full on fridge.
Okay, thank you. You talked about ministerial versus the minor use permit. And I was a little confused about that myself when I was wanting to appeal a certain guest house. And I wrote the county and asked them if they could give me a clarification about those. And I got a response back from the county that said, and I quote, I have sent, from the Coastal Commission. It says, I have sent the county an email clarifying that guest houses need CDPs in the coastal zone, not in the coastal appealable zone, but just in the coastal zone, it says. And they are appealable and require a public hearing. So I'm a little confused because you said that if they were ministerial, they're not going to be in the coastal appealable zone, but they use the term that it just needs to be in the coastal zone and they are appealable. Could you comment on that for me?
I probably will have to look at the specific case that you're looking at to know the details as to what you're asking, and that's probably not the venue for that. If you want, we can talk offline and you can let me know what the property is and I can look into it.
Well, yeah, no, it's
That
a
would be
past
great.
thing. I was just trying to get a clarification between coastal appealable zone and coastal zone and guest houses. So that's okay. We can deal with that in another time. Thank you very much. Very good presentation. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay, Sue.
I just wanted to say, Corey, thank you very much for this. And I know that we had asked you some other questions. You probably have some more information for us. Maybe you could start with that next week or next month. I mean, would that be
Sure.
possible? Thank
Sure.
you. Because we still want to hear all that we asked you to look up for us. So thank you.
Okay, Corey, we will be in touch. Thank you. You've been awesome. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Super helpful.
Next up is Supervisor Bruce Gibson.
Well, I need to unmute him. Hold
I
on.
think
Mm,
Blake is here. Blake has his hand up.
Okay,
Where's Blake? Okay,
I got him.
there you go.
Good evening, everyone. I am here on behalf of the supervisor today. Thanks for having me. A few quick things up top. I wanted to thank Yale and also James, now I learn, for their service to Locac. It's been a pleasure working with you both over this period of time, and I wish you the best of health and the best life in your future endeavors. I hope you stay engaged with your community. You both have been fantastic. A relatively short report tonight from myself. We do have some good news coming out of the most recent board meeting on the 15th. The allocation of some of the America Rescue Plan Act, commonly called ARPA funds for small businesses and childcare. Of the $3 million that was set aside for small businesses that were negatively affected by the pandemic, we have just recently set aside or earmarked 500,000 or 100,000 per district to be applied for as a grant by the local businesses. Further information will be on the county website, and that grant period opens on April 1st and will close on April 30th. So if you are or know a business negatively impacted by the pandemic, I would encourage you to take a look at that grant opportunity. Similarly, in the parsing out of the ARPA funds was $3 million allocated for new and existing child care facilities and wage support for child care providers. As the supervisor has spoken to at previous meetings, child care is one of the biggest costs for working families and affordability in San Luis Obispo County. So we're excited to get that money out to actual projects to increase the number of providers and the compensation for providers and offset costs for families. So that's what I had prepared for this evening, but I'm happy to take any questions as always.
Thank you. Any questions from the council?
I have a question. I was just, thanks, Blake. I was just curious with the childcare funds, do you know how that's going to be allocated towards Los Osos or the North Coast, or how they're dividing that up around the county? Is it?
So as opposed to the small business ones, which were set aside per supervisorial district, I believe that those funds were to be allocated via an RFP or request for proposals. And I believe, and I'd have to dig a little bit deeper on this, but it was in a partnership with our County Office of Education and service providers like First Five, who are to review those proposals. So I don't know if at this point of any specific proposals in Los Osos, but I also haven't seen the proposals yet. So I don't know any that specifically pertain to Los Osos.
Thank you very much. Any other council members? All right, public members, we have Lindy.
Am I muted?
Nope.
No, you're
we can
not.
hear you.
Oh, good. I thought I had been remuted. I wonder, Blake, if we can get an update on Kansas Avenue, because we have more vehicles starting to come back to Palisades
Yeah.
due to overcrowding and no other place.
Hey, she
And
wants
apparently they will be staying on Palisades. Is that
like,
Let me answer. I believe I got Lindy's question there. Yes. So Kansas Avenue, or now called Oklahoma Avenue, because that's where the actual physical address is full. And we absolutely are aware and have been hearing about the repopulation of Palisades, which is not what Supervisor Gibson nor I nor the county staff wanted to happen. But here it is, because we have, while we do have the no camping ordinance in place for Los Osos, that is two-pronged with the requirement to have the reasonable alternative required by Martin v. Boise. So until we have more spaces available, we would not be able to move anybody that is currently on Palisades. To that end, I believe we are discussing expanding the current footprint at Kansas Avenue. And of course, the search continues for future sites, hopefully geographically spread out throughout the county to alleviate places such as Palisades, but also Palisades itself.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Yael.
I don't have any question, but I have a little bit further information.
Sure.
The Kansas/Oklahoma, Alabama, whatever, is full, and yet the current manager has just added 4 additional people, which is against fire department instructions. And none of them is anybody from here or anybody that was recommended by people that do know people that need. And we think that this is people that are moved from Prado safe parking, because I think that the Capslo recommended them. So not only it's overcrowded in a dangerous, risky pattern right now, you cannot move anybody else there, so that people in Palisade, like Blake just said, will have to remain there.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? No, thank you very much, Blake. I appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you all.
CSD report. Not quite sure who's going to be here tonight for CSD.
Maybe they could raise their hand.
All right, let's go down to the Chamber of Commerce report. Lynette, I know where you are.
It's real quiet right now. We don't have anything planned, so stay tuned. That's all I can say. Unless, Jim, you can think of anything that I forgot. Jim, I think you're muted.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, I
You
asked
should be able to
unmute.
unmute, Jim. Here, let me push it again for him. All right, try again, Jim. Do you see a little pop up?
Okay, I'll try. All right, ask to unmute.
There we go. All
There we
right,
go. All right.
very good.
Really want to reemphasize again, they do have the chamber office open from 11 to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4 days a week. But these are manned by volunteers. And if you are planning to go to the chamber for a specific purpose, it would be well to call in ahead of time in case one of those volunteers can make it. We try to cover it with me substitute. Sometimes both of us have conflicts. There is sometimes some occasions when there's nobody there. So it's a critical call ahead of time. 528-4884.
Thank you. Anything else, Lynette?
That was it.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, let's move on to public comment for items not on the agenda. Anyone in the public you would have 3 minutes if you have a comment that is not on the agenda tonight. Larry and Adrian, you're up, but aren't you on the agenda?
Hi, can you guys hear us?
Yes.
Yes, I know we're on the agenda, and I know, Trish, that you've assured us that we'll have an opportunity to talk about our agenda item then. But we wanted to just take a moment to talk about process. The process so far about bringing a request before Locac. And we've struggled with this process. We've been disappointed that there's been a number of delays, and it's not really transparent or clear of what the process was supposed to be after we presented to the Land Use Committee on February 7th. In talking to the county reps, we understand that there was a recent forum for Locac and other community board members to essentially try to clarify what their advisory role and processes in county applications. And the county requires that Locac and other advisory agents be transparent, follow clear and unbiased processes, and treat all applicants consistently. And here's the big thing about time. The county would like you to complete your advisory input to the county within 60 days of hearing a request. This hasn't happened yet. And we're also not feeling that it's been particularly transparent and unbiased. So I just wanted to, voice that out there as a process request. After we were approved by the Land Use Committee, we don't feel that Locac has articulated a series of steps or a timeline for resolving any lingering concerns. And there have been some delays, including the last minute exclusion of our agenda item last month with no advance notice. So we've been told that members of Locac may still have concerns, but it's not really clear to us as applicants how we can address those concerns. We've reached out to Nicole Ellis. She tells us that basically there can be a recommendation about this application, and that you are free to communicate any expectations or limitations that go with that recommendation. So we're hoping to get back on track today. We're hoping to get the process back so that we can move forward to the county. And we want Locac to understand that we have close to $3,000 tied up in our application with the county. That's what applicants do, right? And with each delay, there's a financial impact, right? Time is money. So we're
Right,
asking
your
that
3
Locac.
minutes is up. Thank you
Okay.
so much. And we will be addressing
Thanks.
all of those issues at your agenda item.
All right, thanks, Trish.
Lindy?
Mute. I'm gonna just do a general comment, and because Corey is still here, maybe, it's something they can think about. I see many lots, ever since the community plan started getting close to finalizing. I've seen so many empty lots have for sale signs on them, and then I see so many of them are being sold. I know of one buyer who was told by the county that within about 7 years, he could probably build. My concern is if the county is not clear on what they are letting property owners who are inquiring about possible future growth on that land they look at, if the county is not giving very clear information to say that until we know about our water supply, there's going to be a slowdown. And my other thought is the list of people that have applications in to build as soon as there's a chance to. I think we need better clarification of what that is. I don't know if the list has grown from 100 now to whatever, but I am curious about whether somebody that already has a house that's been approved, even though there's no water hookup for them, if they move to the top of the list. So I think that would be a really good clarification for a lot of us. And maybe Corey can add that to his list of things that we'd love to hear more about. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Edwards, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Jeff Edwards, and I won't take 3 minutes, but I did want to mention something as a follow-up to Lindy's comment about the number of lots that are on the market. And I will tell this group that there have been a lot of transactions, and many of the lots that have sold are being bought or acquired by the contiguous developed property. So what we're seeing in Los Osos in a fairly significant way is the acquisition of adjacent vacant lots by folks to merge or combine those lots with their own existing properties. We should be encouraging that. This is the equivalent of a lot retirement program. And if you're concerned about any resource limitation in the community, whether it be traffic or water or sewer, this is something that, again, should be encouraged and applauded. So you may have heard about different lot retirement programs, but what's happening right now is a de facto lot retirement program. And again, I think we should applaud it. And if somebody acquires a vacant lot next door to their home and they want to put a guest quarters on that vacant lot, we should encourage that as well, because that will forever, or for the foreseeable future, preclude a new single family home on that vacant lot.
Bullshit. You're such a liar.
Hey,
Excuse me?
we don't do that in this meeting at all. No, I am sorry, Jeff. Please continue.
Yeah, I'm shocked, frankly, but maybe not so much given the company.
No, let's not go there.
In any event, this is something, again, I would like Locac to think about long-term. If we want to reduce the number of buildable lots in the community, this is a perfect way to do it. It gives people use of their land. It gives neighbors the ability to add, again, guest quarters or expand their yard or put in a workshop. So again, thank you for the time. And I would encourage you to take this up in a more detailed fashion. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other public comment? Nope. All right, thank you very much. Can I get the council to please approve the minutes from the meeting on February 24th?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes from February 24th.
Can I have a second?
This is Jan.
Second.
Jan is the second. Okay. All in favor, please raise your hand.
I don't think I attended. I did not attend.
I'm raising my hand, Harper.
I failed to attend, so I don't know. I can't.
Yeah, I'll
Yep, James, I'm sorry, you. Well, yeah.
no vote.
No vote. Okay, thank you very much. Any opposed? None. Thank you. It has passed. Let's go to Locac committee reports. Let's start with Deborah with the treasurer's report. Deborah, let's get you unmuted. Okay.
Here we are. So my treasurer's report is very much like it was last month. Our balance was $2,200.38. We made 17 cents interest in the last month. Our balance is now $2,255. I do have a question for the council, and that is, it is tax time, and I did go through the trouble of preparing a tax return for our 501c4. However, I'm not sure that we're on an annual year. It seems to me that I came in May and that sort of started a new year. So I just wanted to clarify, when does the actual year for Locac begin? Is it when the new directors come in and we're starting a new cycle? In which case I will not be filing the taxes now. I will be waiting until that time.
Anyone on the council have better history?
We've never filed taxes before, so I'm sure this is something new.
I never heard that we're filing taxes, that Locac filing taxes. Jan, I mean, you and Larry, you've been longer.
Because I made
I've
this into a 501c4 so
Yeah.
that we could open a bank account. Remember, we couldn't get a bank account without having a corporation. And so this is our way of accomplishing a bank account. So I could just not do it. And at some point we would lose that designation, but there's nothing to it. It's just a couple of quick pages. We have $2,000. I mean, it's not a big deal.
What does
So
the
I thought it
IRS
was
say in
file.
terms of dates? Do they have, as a 501c4, do we need to file by certain date with the IRS?
So we get to choose what our year is. Most people have it on a calendar year, but that's not necessary. But I just need to know what it's going to be so that I know when to file the taxes.
I
would
would
often
say May.
May, yeah.
Well, should it
Our
coincide with the
cycle
fiscal
works
year?
around May.
Right, so May would be the beginning of the year. So April would be the end of the year.
Correct.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, why
I
shouldn't
will-
be the fiscal? Why shouldn't be the fiscal year? That's when we're getting the money. I mean, when do we get? When does Gibson give us the money?
Well, I got a check from them after I started as treasurer. So that was like in May or June.
Hmm.
Mhm. So that's when the funding comes.
Okay.
So April
This is as good as any.
year end. Okay, May 1 year start. All right,
Jim-
that's
Jim-
great.
Jim's got
Jim
his
has a
hand up.
question. I'll unmute him.
Jim, okay.
Okay, Jim, you should be able to unmute.
Nice to be a part of the discussion. Deborah, surely you must have records somewhere, IRS
We don't.
records,
We don't.
and there must be
No.
some contact with the IRS, a letter saying we
Yeah,
have no
so
past record.
I'm going to make this really short. There was correspondence with the IRS. We were given a number, an IRS reporting number, but nothing was ever reported. As a result, that number became a non-number. And when I called the IRS, because I was trying to get the bank
Right.
account open, they said, well, as far as we're concerned, you don't exist. So I had to reinstate the number. And then I had to declare what kind of organization we were. And a 501c4 is a community organization that has to do with roads and parks and things like that. And I thought it quite really fit the bill for us. So
Right.
that's why we are. That's where we're at. And I don't
We
think
have
it's a
no
bad thing.
records. We have
No.
no record.
None. Absolutely none.
Nothing.
When I took over as chair, I got an empty ballot box with a few things in it. Nothing about
IRS.
bylaws, nothing about anything. So we are truly starting over.
We don't exist. Yeah.
No,
Well, we do now.
we do
We
now.
exist now.
We do now. We do now.
Nice going.
Okay. I see
There's
a hand up for the treasurer's report. Let's see.
You should be able to unmute, Tom. Okay, there you go.
Hello. I don't know how appropriate this is, but I recently just finished incorporating a local 501c4 myself. And if Locac needs, I have very limited experience, but if there's any way I could help with the treasury of Locac, I'm happy to.
Oh, Tom, thank you. And I have your contact information, so I'll follow up with you on that. So one final thing, Sandra, are you going to do the budget for outreach, or would you like me to do that now?
Just, you can do it now while since we need to vote on it,
Okay,
yeah.
so let's just continue on with our treasurer's report. As you all know, we have this amazing and fabulous event coming up May 1st at the Red Barn. We're going to have, I can't wait for you guys to hear all the cool stuff that's going to happen. But as a result, we decided we would really, really, really do our best in promoting this event. And so we put together a budget. And the budget goes something like this. We had some ads designed. If you haven't seen them, they're on the Locac website. It was $255. We're renting the Red Barn, $170. We're going to have a banner that says Locac that we'll be able to use at future times. We'll be able to put that up when we do the elections in the parking lot of the chamber. We're going to put two relatively large ads in the Estero Bay News. That's going to be $700. We have printing of $250. We're buying some supplies, including balloons for the kids for $90. And we're looking at doing some giveaways. I'm not sure what we ended up with, but something with the Locac logo on it for $145. The total amount for this budget, for this outreach budget, is $1,690. We have already in our budget for this year $500 for outreach. That means we're short $1,190. I did reach out to Blake because Supervisor Gibson said if we need more money, he will get us more money. Blake said, no problem, send in the grant application. I did that yesterday. He replied and said, we will be getting that money shortly. So we've planned this great party and we're getting it paid for.
Yay.
Wow, fantastic.
Great job,
Blake.
Deborah. Yeah.
Thank you, Deborah.
So we still have $2,000. Well, take out the 500, which is for outreach. So we still have $1,500 in the bank account. Should we decide we're going to do in-person meetings, or, you know, we have some election expenses coming up. So, you know, we're in good shape financially. And I just felt like this event is so important for so many reasons that we really should go all out. And I think it will be successful.
Thank
Thanks
you.
to Sandra and the rest of the committee.
We will have a report on that very soon. It's 2 to 5, but we'll have a report on that.
All right, yeah. So that is the end
Okay,
of my treasurer's report.
Thank you, Deborah. Next is Larry with the land use report.
We just had a couple items at the last meeting, and they're coming up on the regular agenda, so we'll be talking about them at that time. Don't have anything, I think, coming up yet for our next meeting, but it's still early.
Okay. Jan Harper for traffic and circulation.
Yes. Nothing's coming through to have another meeting. I've been checking with Joshua, and the big thing for people to realize is, you know, we live out here, we see the issues. So remember to give Public Works a call at 805-781-5252. If you have an issue, bring it up with them. And then if it's something that we need to discuss, we'll have a Zoom meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jan. Okay, for your last tree and landscaping aisle.
Yeah, so I don't know what the future of the landscape committee will be. Locac will need to discuss another chairperson because James also is stepping down. And I have some thoughts, and I sent it to Trish and Deborah, and you can use it any way you see fit. Yeah, but I think that it's an important committee. Otherwise, the group will probably discuss working outside of Locac, but this will be kind of, you know, said to that kind of a committee. Well, we had a lively meeting because we thought that James, you know, need to be inundated with all the information. But one of the main things that we did discuss is possible participation on the May 1st Locac outreach. So that's why I don't know now what's going to happen if we are not a Locac committee. Then what's the point? We're going to have a table. We had a whole list of things here that people volunteered to present and discuss. So I'm willing to kind of, you know, work with you on that and some suggestion. I mean, one thing that I thought of, if somebody is willing to Step Up is to meet maybe bi-monthly, so it's not as difficult for them. People in the committee are discussing things outside of meetings often, and also because of the difficulty moving forward before the community plan has been approved, quite few of the projects have been on hold, and I understand that for CSD it's similar situation. So we're talking a lot and we're getting excited about things, but it's hard to move forward. So I think that bi-monthly meetings could be just as well if somebody, as I say, if somebody is willing to take on the chairmanship, and the committee members are very knowledgeable. So I can tell you that as a chairperson, I didn't have much work to do other than add my enthusiasm to already very knowledgeable group of people. So if you just have the time and the wish to see this committee staying within Locac, then I suggest somebody will step up. So I don't have much else to report other than we were going to look forward to participate on May 1st, but now that's may not happen.
It may still happen. All right. Thank you, Yael.
Well, then we'll need to talk really quickly for April, because I'm still a member of the committee, but probably we do have a meeting in April to get the person to call the meeting, to actually chair the meeting.
Okay, I will talk with you offline.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, Sandra, outreach.
Yeah, well, I'm glad everyone's talking about it. The May 1st event, we've been meeting and there's lots of work to do. And yeah, I would say, yes, definitely. We still need trees and landscape there. And I'm excited to hear that the committee wants to participate and that you have some interactive things to do, because I think that will also inspire people to stay involved and maybe even share or whatever. But I definitely think you all need to be there. And then I'm also wondering, and this might be more of a business item, if we want to revisit the bylaws as far as who can chair committees and if they could be co-chaired with public members as well as council members. That's not an outreach topic, but something to note that maybe we want to revisit. So as far as the outreach event, May 1st, the Red Barn from 2 to 5, the ad was posted in our newsletter. So hopefully saw that. It's also on the website. I also translated it into Spanish. So we have them both available in Spanish and English. And we're going to do about a couple more ads that will come out via social media. And I'm asking the council here specifically to please save the date. Please show up on May 1st from 2 to 5. And if you are a chair of a committee, that you do create some kind of interactive survey or some way to connect with the community at large. Because the whole point of this event is to let the community know why Locac matters, what we do, how we represent the community, as well as we're bringing over 15 organizations that serve Los Osos. And that includes the South Bay Women's Network, Los Osos Cares, Celebrate Los Osos. The Public Health Department is going to be there with specific to some of the senior services they provide. Bike Slow County is going to be there. They're going to be doing helmet checks and engaging with the kids. The Basin Management Committee will be there. They're going to be doing a presentation about our water. CSD is going to be there. Chamber of Commerce, the Bay Osos Filipino Association is going to be there. Elfin Forest, Audubon Society, hopefully CAL FIRE, they're willing to bring their fire truck. We just have to find a space for it. Also, there'll be kids activities. So my mother-in-law, who's a kid expert, is going to set up a booth and we're going to have kids activities there. So I'm sharing all of this with all of you because if you feel there's an organization missing, we can see if there's room to add them, as well as just getting the word out to our community. So they show up and they learn and they let us know what's important to them. And I'm also working on a food truck or a dessert truck of some sort to be there. So that's what's happening. So share all those ads on social media, get the word out. And it's exciting. I'm excited about it because I think it's like the first time something like this has happened as it relates to Locac and the community Even when I'm calling organizations, they're like, wait, what does Locac do? And why are you doing this? So just shows how important it is. I see Lynette has her hand raised.
Yes, I just wanted to say, since I posted this on Nextdoor, people were asking microphones for the town hall if people are speaking. Some people have trouble hearing, so if we had a mic set up. And they were asking, is it going to be videoed? Will it be archived? And I was wondering if we could do some kind of a, even if it doesn't do the whole thing, some kind of a streaming Facebook kind of thing to get that interest in that.
If somebody wants to volunteer and has the skills and capacity to do that and create a short video of sorts, that would be amazing. And I think we're also, that's on our list to find either one of those boxes or the microphone. We were going to ask the CSD, but we will have a microphone there, so whoever's presenting can use.
Would we be able to find out if the Basin Management Committee will have whatever they present in some kind of a either written or video form that we can put on our website to further, you know, interest in the Basin Management Committee and what they do and why they're important?
Yeah, we can ask for sure.
Yeah, if we can ask, I think that would be good. It would be one more thing to get things out to the public about what they do.
So you want this in advance of the event? Is that what you mean?
No, not necessarily. Just after the event, we really should probably publicize what we did. We'll have it on Nextdoor. We'll have it on Facebook. We want to keep this thing going as long as possible to get as many eyeballs on this as possible.
If there is anybody that loves to shoot videos and create short movies, it would be amazing to have that and document it. Maybe post that on Nextdoor if somebody's willing to volunteer that skill.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, thank you, Sandra. James, could you do the ad hoc water committee report?
Actually, James is resting his voice, so I am going to do my best to present the information that he put together. So if I could share screen again, as I said, I will do my best to figure this out somehow. Let's see. Can you see? No, you probably can't see that. Oh, I hope this is going to work. Share. Can you see that?
Yes.
I can see it. Yeah.
All right. Success. Okay. Let's put up a slideshow for you all. All right. So James did this amazing PowerPoint presentation, and I'm just going to walk you through it. It's pretty self-explanatory. We wanted to do a deep dive and talk a little bit about what's in the aquifer and how does it compare with the past, and sort of just, you know, taking a real look at what we've got going on here. So here are the basin areas over here, divided up, the western and central western, the aquifers, whether it's the perched on top, the upper aquifer, the lower aquifers, and the alluvial and lower. So that's all very self-explanatory. And then here's spring of 2020 and fall of 2020. And if we look at the numbers, what we're really looking at here is how much above sea level is it? How much water is there in the aquifer? And so you can see these total numbers, 124,600 in the spring of 2020. And that's actually more than what we had in the fall. Then same with the above sea level. So let me go forward.
Can I pause you? Can we go back?
Yes, pause. Okay. Thank goodness, James, you're gonna, okay, should I go back?
Yeah, go back one. And so I think a couple of things to note are just the total volume of water that's located for both spring and fall. It's about 120,000 acre feet. And we use about 2,000 acre feet a year. And so the volume stored is roughly 60 times what we use in a year. So, that provides some context for how much water is in the basin. And I think kind of the other point to make is it's a fairly big basin and it stores a lot of water. It's broad and it's deep. And it's not like the basins up in Cambria, the San Simeon and the Santa Rosa that are narrow, thin basins and don't hold a lot of water. This one, the Los Osos Basin does hold a lot of water.
Right, because here we have the 2010 acre feet that was used in 2020.
Right.
So now I'll move forward. So this is looking more back at 2019, comparing it to 2020. And you can see that the water storage actually increased. The total acre feet went up by 1,200 feet and it rose 100 feet above sea level between 2019 and 2020. So that's an improvement.
Yeah, and just to add on, we took 2,000 acre feet out of the basin, but the basin recharged, approximately 3,200 acre feet. It recharged much more water than we took out of it. So, we're increasing the storage at least between 2019 and 2020, and it wasn't a particularly wet year.
So here's a graph that's showing water levels. And so if you just look at these colored lines on the graph, you'll see they relate to specific areas and wells that we have in Los Osos. And they generally are staying stable or increasing a little bit over here. You can see the blue lines going up a little bit. So, but for the most part, it's pretty stable. And we're going back to 1975 all the way up to 2020. So, I mean, here in this LA4 Western had a big dip down, obviously in 2000, but that has recovered quite a bit. So again, just looking at the specific areas and looking at how the water has ebbed and flowed, but generally speaking, the water is remaining pretty stable overall.
Yeah, and I mean, just again, to add on, especially if you look at since 2010 forward, it's either water levels have essentially either increased or not decreased. So, and that's reflected, in the storage. The storage numbers are calculated from the water levels. So, we're seeing increases in groundwater elevation and associated increases in storage.
We're a pretty good team here, James.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I know.
What is this
I
red
don't know.
line?
I don't know where that came from. It's obviously something that I did accidentally, and so I can't really explain it. I could probably erase it if I knew how to. So just ignore the red line. And so now, the big question is, well, we have seawater intrusion. This is a big, concern. Seawater intrusion coming into the basin. So James' graph here is showing us how much more water was being used in the past, as you can see by these water levels, and the different colors are showing the different zones. So you have the yellow is the perched aquifer, you have the upper aquifer in green, and then the lower aquifer is in blue. And so you can see how much more water was being used in these early years. And now here, as we move along closer to current time, how much the water has been, the actual water being used or produced is gone down quite a bit. So this seawater intrusion is very likely partially a result of this extraction that happened early on. So the historical pumping in the western portion of the basin, which is closest to the seawater intrusion front. Obviously, here we're looking at historically much, much greater, and here now much, much less. So we're getting to a place here where we're expecting to see improvement in the seawater intrusion, but it's going to take time. And we're going to explain, James has a map that we're going to get to, but let's again take a look at specific areas, the western area, the central area, and the eastern area. This is in 2005 to 2009, 2010 to 2014. You can see how much more water was being pumped out of the western area. And then as we get more current, 2015, 2019, and to here 2020, you can see how there's been a shift of pumping the water more out of the eastern part and reducing the pressure of pumping out of the area that's closest to where the seawater is. And that the graph is actually showing you it's proportional to the amount of groundwater production. So so if you have questions, I'm sure we'll answer them. Okay, so here we go. If the storage and water levels are increasing, which it appears that they are, why is the seawater continuing to migrate eastward? And this, of course, is the map showing how we're seeing the intrusion of seawater. So here's a map of how the aquifer recharges. And so there are specific areas that recharge the basin. And I have to look at my notes here. The Los Osos Creek is one of those. And also where the dune sand is, the water will percolate through those areas. This perching clay boundary may slow or even prohibit the percolation and the recharging of the basin. So it's possible it has to go around to get through this, but it all takes time for that water to percolate, for that water to recharge. And so that is partially an explanation of why we have seawater intrusion, but why we can be cautiously optimistic that the aquifer is still in pretty good shape. Let's see.
Yeah, and I might just add on to that if you can go back a slide. So, I think and we're kind of speculating here, but part of the reason that I think that seawater intrusion is still occurring is that water levels in the western portion of the basin are still drawn down from that historical kind of over extraction that occurred in the western portion of the basin. And the basin is filling up, but it takes a long time to reach the lower aquifer and an especially long time to reach the western part of the lower aquifer. And that's because much of the recharge for the lower aquifer comes from the eastern part of the basin where Los Osos Creek is. That's one of the primary sources. And so that water has to flow all the way westward past all these extraction wells on its way to get to where the seawater intrusion is over near Palisades Ave. And so not only does it have a long way to flow, but it's being extracted along its flow path. And so it's taking a long time to fill up that western portion of the basin. And similarly for Broderson, Broderson leach field is supposed to recharge the lower aquifer, but it has to percolate through, pretty extensive unsaturated zone, then the upper aquifer, and then the lower aquifer. And so it's all to say that these things are taking time, and that's basically what is speculated by the Basin Management Committee. And I think there's essentially a time lag between when you're going to see the response to seawater intrusion. And I guess one other thing to note is groundwater moves slowly. It moves on the order of tens to maybe the low hundreds of feet per year. So it's going to take a long time for it to travel the many thousands of feet to the seawater intrusion front.
So kind of getting to the bottom line here, the groundwater storage and elevations are increasing. Extraction has been reduced overall in the western portion of the basin where the seawater intrusion is the greatest, and that it will take time for recharge to reach the lower aquifer and increase water levels sufficiently to reverse the seawater intrusion. And that is the end of the presentation. So I think if anybody like me to go back through the slides, if they want to look at something a little bit more, or if you have questions.
Let's stop the share screen so we can see if we can get some hands up for some council member questions to start with. Anyone in the council like to ask any questions?
This is Jen Harper. I don't have any questions, but I would certainly get this posted on our website. I think it's good information for the public to see. I mean, just say it's like James said, it's speculative right now, but this is the reality of it. It just takes a long time.
Good idea, Jan. Thank you. Lynette, you're up next.
You need to be unmuted.
Sorry, there's noise in the background here. Jan beat me to it. Yeah, I'd like to put it up on the website. So if you could send that to me, I'd appreciate it.
Will do.
Any other, Larry, you're up.
Yeah, my only question is, how long? When could we start seeing results? You know, are we looking 10 years, 20 years? I heard somewhere somebody said we're not going to see results for 30 years.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you mean by results. I mean, I think in terms of reversing seawater intrusion to some, historical location, that's probably on the order of 30 years. I read, I think it was in the 2020 annual report that BMC was anticipating the water levels would meet the metric of 8 feet based on their current trajectory by around 2033.
Okay, thank you.
Any other council members? Okay, let's go to the public.
I'm sorry.
Sue?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what to say or how to formulate this, but I guess all I can say is this sounds really great, but I think the bottom line is we still have no idea if we're sustainable or not. There's no way you can prove that at this moment we're sustainable. I mean, this looks wonderful. I really hope it all comes to pass, but it's not raining, and I don't see how we can keep putting more water in if it doesn't rain. So I think we can take this as a positive sign, but we have to still be really careful and treat the basin like it's injured and it needs to be preserved. I mean, we can't just jump off the path. The county still puts us in a situation where we're in serious trouble. The Coastal Commission certainly sees us this way, and the heads of the water purveyors are saying this too. So I think we have to still be careful. Thank you.
I mean, this is Jan again. I just like to say, if we do post it, there needs to be a statement like Susan just said, that states something that, hey, yes, things are changing to the better. It's incremental, or something. It seems to me, otherwise people are going to think, oh, wow. And, it's not, oh, wow yet.
Okay.
Well, I wonder if James or Deborah, you can speak to that, because I think that's where's, for me, who doesn't understand a lot of this, and I'm just hearing it like,
okay,
how can you speak to that, right? Is it, are we still in a crisis? Like, it's looking good, but
I'm not
there's
a
still
water
enough
expert.
water.
James,
Mhm.
James is a water expert, but I think what anybody can take from the presentation is that the basin is large and it's full of water. And then we do take water out, but water does flow in. And so the question is, do we take out more than what gets recharged? In 2020, more water flowed in than we took out. The water levels are rising. So this is a good sign. Now, we don't have 2021 figures yet. And obviously that's where the cautious part comes in, where we're cautiously optimistic, but you know, we can't just like go as Sue was saying, we can't just go, oh, okay, fine, we're all in good shape, go do whatever we want. No, we want to be cautiously optimistic and watch the numbers and make sure that we continue to recharge the basin and move those wells away from the seawater area so they don't continue to draw that water in. And that's my layperson explanation. I'm sure James would do a much better job than I.
No, I think that was great. And I think in some respects, you know, it's a judgment call for each person regarding what their comfort is in terms of risk. Some people want to be very, very low risk with respect to basin management, and some people are more optimistic. And, you know, it's kind of in some ways varies from person to person. So I don't want to publicly present my opinion here. Our intention was really to present information to the group so that they can be informed and make informed decisions and make informed judgment calls for themselves.
Exactly.
Okay, there is someone on an iPhone. It is, if you would like to raise your hand, it is a *9, *9, and you get to. Next up is Lindy.
Oh, I just also.
Hey, hi again. I feel very much that Sue and Jen addressed how I feel about it. These presentations that you've given show a very optimistic side of the data. And I think that we need to stay very cautious because we are far from seeing results of some of the actions that have been done or getting stuff that's supposedly going to get done. I have a hard time seeing that the aquifer has risen during 2021. That was one thing. I wonder where all your graphs are coming from. Are they a combination of data from this basin management and the county? I'm just trying to figure out where some of the information comes from. And then I don't know if it's too hard to go to the pumping table, but pumping table between 2015 and the first graph was almost identical to 2020. So in 5 years, the suggestion that we've changed our water draw eastward, it started way back in 2015, according to that graph. So anyway, I like that we can look at maybe some possible good signs, but we still have nitrate pollution and we still have ongoing seawater infiltration, and we still don't know exactly how long our aquifer can provide for us because we don't know what's coming into it anymore.
Okay,
So thank you.
We have 6 people who want to speak. So if we could, due to the timing, if we could limit it to 2 minutes, and let's go to Yael because you're a council member, and then we'll go back to the public.
Can I just respond to
Yes.
Lindy's question about the data? All the data comes from the 2020 annual report from the BMC. Go ahead, Yael.
That was my question. I wanted just to reiterate. I wanted, if you can answer now. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up is Jeff Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 minutes it is. And I would like to say, again, my name is Jeff Edwards. What this presentation did for me is it helped crystallize the fact that what our basin needs is management. And it's not so much an issue of safe yield as it is management. And that's what we really need to engage in. We have a complex groundwater basin. And you've heard about the horizontal strata, A through E in the groundwater basin. We also have vertical strata. And you saw one of them is defined at the creek compartment. And we also have another one, another vertical strata, and that's strand B of the Los Osos Fault, which runs more or less kind of northwesterly towards the rock, if you will. So there are these barriers to migration or backfilling of the western portion of the basin. So again, it's these complexities of our basin. Water doesn't flow directly from one side to the other. It is a management issue, and I thank the presenters for that very much.
Thank
That's all I
you.
have.
All right, next up is Beck.
There you go. Sorry, it's my first time doing this on a phone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, it's Becky McFarland, and I'm sorry I didn't get to see the whole presentation. I looked forward to it. I'm on the road coming back from LA. But here's my question. I know there's water. There aren't barren areas, dry areas of the aquifer. There's water in there. The upper aquifer is polluted. We're not using it. The lower aquifer has seawater intrusion that in 1985, that I'll call it the plume, was at Pecho Road. And now in the 2020 report, it shows it up by Palisades. Can you hear me?
Yes, go.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, yes, there's water in there. It's the quality of the water. Some has so much nitrates, some has the chlorides in it from seawater. And that's an issue with this movement of this seawater going so far inland. James said something about, what is it, in 2033 that we'll see some improvement. I don't remember the exact words. But if we're going to keep tapping into the lower aquifer to provide more water for more building and the seawater is still moving, I just don't see how that is sustainable when we haven't stopped any seawater intrusion yet. So that was my question is, I don't see that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I just want to say that the storage numbers don't include the area that's impacted by seawater intrusion. That's excluded from the storage calculation. So there's 120,000 acre feet of non-saline water available in the basin.
Well, right, but it's still, the saline water is still moving in.
Right.
And so as we pump out, even though we're pumping nice fresh stuff farther in, more seawater is going to move in and displace what we took out, right?
Well, eventually elevations will force seawater, increasing fresh elevations will force seawater out to sea. I mean, that's the physics of it.
If they happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
thank you very much. I appreciate that. Dave and Bev, you're up.
This is Dave Bolus. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I just wanted to add that what would be real interesting to me is if those graphs showing the water levels could also have a graph put on there showing the rain, because as we know, things are drying out, and we may be using less water, but we're probably not going to be able to expect more rain in the future. That's all.
Thank you. Next up is Councilmember Sue.
Oh, okay, thank you. I just wanted to say that any mitigation we're talking about for any of this stuff is going to cost money. And we've got not a lot of people offering to pay for this. So we have to remember too, that that's a big issue in getting any of this taken care of. So, thank you.
Next up is Larry Rio.
Yeah, thank you. My name's Larry Rayo. I hope I can get this done in 2 minutes. One, table 18 was mischaracterized. It was said that there's more water. There's actually more water in spring than there is in fall. So the water in acre feet actually went down because fall comes after spring.
Right.
As far as water levels go, the water levels, they're pretty stable. They're not increasing that much. In fact, I have seen the 2021 data, and it's not really looking any better. In fact, some decreases in some of the water levels. But the fact of the matter is that in zone D, the water levels have to be at about 8 feet. And right now they're only averaging about 2 feet. So even though we do have a positive water level, we need at least a lot more. And it doesn't look like they're ever gonna, in the near future, approach the 8 feet that's really required to keep seawater intrusion. And in zone E, which is a major zone that has the highest volume of water, it needs to be about 12 feet, and it's nowhere near that. It's still 10 feet plus below that. So water levels are important. And one of the reasons why we have less extraction in the western portion is because it's all contaminated with high chloride. So we had to quit pumping over there and move things eastward. So it's kind of misleading to say that. We're pumping less out of the western portion because it's pretty much we had to pump less out of there. Look at all these volumes, but I think for now, the water levels basically have stayed pretty level. Production is kind of flattened out. But if you look in 2020, we actually took more water out than we did in 2019, about the same amount that we did in 2018. So, actually production has increased from 2019 to 2020. So
okay, we need to move on, Larry. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Lynette, council member, quick. She's asked to unmute.
Oh, you're muted.
There's so much noise in my house. I'm sorry. If James could just address what blending is and what are we doing with that? Thanks.
Did you say blending?
Blending, yeah. Upper and lower.
You mean blending to treat the nitrate in the upper aquifer?
Yeah, the ion exchange that Golden State is doing and blending some of that water, upper aquifer water with lower aquifer, if you could address that.
Yeah, I only that I know that Golden State is doing some nitrate treatment, apparently via ion exchange, and then blending is a kind of a separate treatment process where you essentially dilute the concentration of nitrate by blending it with a higher quality water or water that doesn't have a high nitrate concentration in it.
Okay. All right. Last one on this. Patrick, less than 2 minutes, please.
Less than 2 minutes. I'd just like to remind everybody that we are still, according to the California Coastal Commission, in extreme overdraft. And we have not really improved our nitrates, our chlorides, or our water level to the extent that we thought we would. It isn't 2033 that we're looking at that to improve. It was actually, according to the basin plan, it was in about 10 years we should see major improvement. And we have not seen major improvement at all in the last 6 or 7 years. So without getting more rain, it's doubtful that we're probably going to see much more improvement in those metrics. The other thing is I'd like to remind everybody is that the 2010 extraction rate that we have had, that is the purveyor's extraction rate. That has nothing to do with what private wells and agriculture pulls out. And we have no idea other than estimates of what they really pull. So our basin is, again, in overdraft. We need to still be very careful and monitor things. And hopefully the Basin Management Committee is doing just that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I appreciate that. Okay. Great ad hoc water discussion. I appreciate everybody's points of view on that. Active transportation, Deborah, let's see if we can do a quick one.
Yeah, I will do my best to get this done. All right, so the committee has prioritized Los Osos Valley Road as our #1 priority. We'd like to build a multi-use path along Los Osos Valley Road from Doris, where Monarch Grove Elementary School is, all the way to Palisades, where the community center is. This path will provide safe passage for pedestrians and hopefully for bikes. If someone is not secure riding on the street with fast-moving traffic, they would be able to use this, much like they do the El Moro path. We would also like to include a sidewalk that would go all the way to the library. So that's our wish list. We've reached out to the school board for their support. That's critically important to get funding. And we would also like to have a letter from Locac supporting this project that we can send to the county, to Public Works, because this is a safe routes to school project. It will improve safety for children and for adults. The county has a new cycle of funding. We'll be calling for projects beginning April 6th. We would like to apply for this funding for the design and build of this path. And the more community support we have, the better our chances of actually getting some money. The outreach event that we've already discussed on May 1st will be critical for active transportation in getting this community attention and support for our efforts. We're going to be having a survey at the May 1st event that every person can take. We'll probably have it on a QR code so that we can collect as much information as possible about, how does your child get to school? Would you walk on a path on Los Osos Valley Road? That kind of thing. So I would like to have a vote or a sign of approval from Locac saying that they would, if I drafted a letter and sent it around, if I could get approval to have that letter sent off to the county, to the Board of Supervisors, to SLOCOG, to anybody I can think of.
Okay,
that might
can
influence.
we get a motion from the council? Lynette, oops, sorry, my whole computer screen went.
I'm so sorry. It's just, I've got people in the house. Okay, I make a motion that Locac write this letter, that Deborah write the letter, send it around to all of us for a vote. The deadline should be, Deborah, what deadline should we make sure we get this done by?
Well, the call for projects is April 6th. So, I'll get on it right away and get it sent around. And, if you approve it, then I'll get it sent off.
Okay.
Can we get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, it has passed. Thank you. Anything else, Deborah?
That's enough.
Okay.
There's always more, but no, that's enough.
Larry, can you discuss this minor use permit?
Okay. First thing we had it, in fact, we took it off the agenda at the last meeting, was a homestay on Rodman. We had questions of what can be in the room of a homestay. And it came to my attention that there was a full-on kitchenette in that unit that they wanted for a homestay. So to me, it took it from a homestay back into a vacation rental because it has a full-on kitchenette in it. But if the owner's there, I think it's Larry and Adrian wanted to make any comments about this, or please go ahead.
Yeah, hi.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks. We'll be brief. we presented material to the land use committee about what we wanted in our application. We didn't include a kitchenette. Let me be clear about what we presented and what we're saying today, which is that we have from the beginning been willing to comply with all the county regulations for a homestay. We believe that since this is a single bedroom in our home, a homestay is the appropriate permit to pursue. And I think the emails that I've forwarded along from Nicole Ellis, between Nicole and Locac members, suggest that a homestay is the correct permit. And again, we had a great experience in front of the land use committee. I know people had some questions as to what was part of a homestay. Yale and others brought up questions. We had at the time presented a mini fridge and a microwave, but we haven't really configured the space yet. It is our intention to comply with all the county regulations for whatever that homestay definition is. And so I'll give this back to the committee. There's some other things I could say, but perhaps there's some response or
Yeah, I just wanted to also point out that the last communication from Nicole Ellis of the county was that it was suggested that this go through the approval process and that maybe Locac, just like the county, could provide a provision that all modifications need to be met within 30 days of county approval and prior to the operation of the homestay. And we are A-okay with that. Again, we will comply with all the regulations.
So I think, as my email stated, there's only one question. If you still have a kitchenette in that room, it does not qualify for a homestay. If you have removed the kitchenette from that room, because we have pictures of it from the previous owners, if that kitchenette is still in there, according to the rules and regs that I have right here in front of me, it does not qualify for a homestay. So I think the only question here is, do you have the kitchenette, yes or no? If it's yes, you do not qualify for a homestay. If it's no, you qualify for a homestay.
Oh, Corey has his hand up.
And that came directly from Nicole, so.
Hi, this is Corey with the County of San Luis Obispo Department of Planning and Building. So I've spoken to Nicole through email that we could add a condition to the effect of basically saying that the kitchenette has to be removed within 30 days of approval and prior to the operation of the homestay. That's pretty normal protocol for conditional use permits and minor use permits, where we can condition the project to be able to move forward if they meet certain requirements, certain conditions. And so an applicant doesn't have to satisfy all the conditions before the approval. The point of the conditions is that they would be able to establish the use if they meet all of the conditions after the approval. So in this case, if we were to proceed to a hearing and the hearing body approves the project with that condition and the applicant agrees to it, the applicant would be able to, within 30 days, remove that kitchenette and then operate the homestay. Basically, they wouldn't be able to operate the homestay without removing it, but we don't have to require them to do it before the hearing.
Okay, thank you, Corey. Sue.
Corey, how would that be verified?
Corey.
Brian, hold on.
Corey, you still there?
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute him. There we go.
Sorry, I muted myself when I stopped talking and then let me unmute again. Basically they would have to get either a demo permit after approval to have a building inspector go out and verify that it was properly removed from the room. And that would be a formal paperwork that they would go through to remove that kitchenette. Typically, the planner that is assigned to the project would verify that all conditions are met before any business license can be issued for the use. So basically, even if the county approves a minor use permit for the homestay to be able to move forward, they wouldn't actually be able to operate with a business license until all those conditions are met. And the planner, in this case, Nicole, would have to sign off on all the conditions being satisfied before a business license would be issued.
Okay, thank you.
Sue is up next.
Corey, I sort of have a little issue with that whole plan because, this has been like pulling teeth just to get a definition from you guys about what exactly is a homestay. We out here have no code enforcement. We can't even get the code enforcement guy to come and talk to us because he keeps saying he can't come for whatever reason. We really have no confidence that this can be taken care of properly. I mean, the accusations we've been listening to about us being non-transparent and not really actually recognizing our concern about the kitchenette. And so I would have problems at all asking that this be, or, recommending that this be given a homestay permit, because right now it is not a homestay. However you look at it, it's not a homestay with the kitchen that it has. It has a stovetop, it has a sink, it has refrigerator. I mean, it's a kitchen. So I would like to see it taken care of, and then I would be happy to vote one way or another, seeing what we have left. But so go
Thank you,
ahead.
Sue. I hear you. And, it is Locac's prerogative to make whatever recommendation you feel is appropriate. Ultimately, that the county is waiting. It sounds like the county is waiting for, or Nicole is waiting for a recommendation from Locac before we can take it to hearing. Ultimately, the decision maker is this is a minor use permit, I believe, is at planning department hearing. So the decision maker isn't staff, it is the planning department officer, and they will consider Locac's recommendation. We just need Locac to make a recommendation one way or another. And then I also pulled up the definition here for homestay. I do see your concern that you would like to see that it meets the homestay definition before it gets approved. That obviously is a possibility, but the other possibility is that uses can be approved with conditions, and that the applicant would be responsible for meeting those conditions before they can actually operate. Sometimes applicants want to move forward with, like fixing everything, removing everything, meeting the conditions before. Sometimes they would prefer to go to hearing and have those conditions applied to their permit. Both paths are viable.
And if there's no difference in when they can rent it out, why does it even matter that they would try to do it before? I mean, why would it be preferable to do it after? Because they still can't technically use it. So why can't they just do it beforehand and then go forward?
It's not up to the county to take a position on that. That's totally up to the applicant on what they want to do. The county's responsibility here is to review the application and take it to hearing. And in this case, we are. It sounds like Nicole is just waiting on Locac's recommendation before we go to hearing. So I think that's what we need. So
okay.
Locac can either recommend, approval with conditions, or disapproval, whichever recommendation it is. I think that's what Nicole needs.
Thank you very much. And Corey, could you clear the screen so I can see the hands that are up? Thank you. Let's go to Sandra, please.
Well, Deborah was first. She can.
Oh, I'm sorry, Deborah.
I just got a little bit confused. Corey, I thought you said that I don't really know what a kitchenette is, but I think you said a kitchen was a stove top with a hood. And so is there a stovetop with a hood in this?
There is a stovetop with 2 burners, small refrigerator.
Can we speak to this for a minute? Because
Sure.
those were old pictures that you sought out from the previous owner, which seems like an extreme measure, but there is currently a single sink. It is the bathroom sink in the space. There is a mini fridge under the counter, which I heard Corey say earlier was acceptable. And there is currently a 2-burner electric burner thing that can easily be removed. And we are happy to do that.
And just to pipe in,
There's no microwave. We wanted a microwave, but there isn't a microwave.
Yeah.
We've been waiting. And I think the reason to not have to move forward with demoing or whatever might be required is that this is expense, and so we would like to know that we're going to get the permit before we put more expense into the process. But we will abide by all of these regulations. It's not an issue.
yes, and I'll concur with Adrian. We're happy to abide. The challenge here is that material has been presented to the county from a previous homeowner. Pictures of this area from a previous homeowner. It's not what was in our application. It is not in the intent of our application. It is not really easy for us to sit here and address things that are not in the application. And if you go back to the Land Use Committee meeting on February 7th, you can check and see that there has been, sadly, a number of things represented to the county that was not part of our application.
Okay.
Commingling,
Thank you very much.
suggestion, and so on. Yeah.
Thank you. Sandra.
Yeah, so obviously there's a breakdown of trust, right? Is that like we get the runaround from the county, there's no code enforcement, right? So the big picture is there's a lack of trust on so many ends. And so we're, to a certain degree, we're being asked to just trust that it's all going to happen and to trust you as community members that you're going to do the right thing. And do we really think the county is going to do what they're going to do? That's the bigger picture issue. But I guess my question to you is, so there's no stove, there's no range. So in the current application, what I'm hearing you say is there's no stovetop and there's no range.
There's
in the
no
current
range.
application. There's the
There's no-
electric, there's the electric, but there's no like
Correct.
built-in
That
stovetop.
And that's not our intention
And to
for.
say, to keep it, to
yeah.
have anything like that.
Right.
in
Well,
there.
that's easy to just unplug it and remove it. I guess my question
Exactly.
is,
Exactly.
in the current application, that range and hood does not exist, correct?
Correct. And if you go back to the February 7th agenda, we provided some slides.
So there's pictures and all of that in there that
And there's-
shows exactly
yeah.
what it looks like in the current moment and how it's going to move forward. So with that, I'm wondering if we can make a motion to approve this with the condition that the electric plug-in stove is removed, and possibly in the spirit of trust and transparency, if Nicole or somebody at the county would follow up with us and let us know, show us pictures like, hey, we're all doing our part here. We're going to build trust. And this is what this looks like now and how it's moving forward. So, because what I'm hearing is that, it does kind of qualify as a homestay, but there's like confusion because there's old pictures and what's moving forward. So
Yeah. And we're happy to
yelling
send
at kids
some
are trying to sleep,
updated
but
photos or whatnot. Yeah.
so that's my motion, like with the condition that the electric plug-in stove is removed. There's a clear understanding before a business permit is issued that there's accountability and there's follow through that those conditions have been met.
Okay. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Jim, we don't see you or hear you.
Just raise your hand. Here, raise it.
Okay, 8. Okay, opposed?
I'm going to abstain.
So there's clarity in the condition, right, in what we're asking. Is that?
Well, there's still the matter of the sink. You know, Nicole told us a long time ago there were no sinks allowed. So
But that is
There's a
allowed
single
in the
sink though. It's a
homestay.
bathroom sink. So there's
I'm
one sink. in the
abstaining.
space.
We don't need to
We
have a
have the
discussion about
motion,
this.
we have a
don't-
second, we haven't voted. It can now go to the county.
Thank you.
And have a bathroom, how can you not have a sink? So
Yeah.
There was a,
Okay.
you
All
guys,
right,
it's
we are
done.
all done.
Get it.
Done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Larry, next.
And the next project that comes up here was the Stambeck project, and they now have turned it into a office. I'm looking for the word. Anyway,
Larry, can you please discuss how land use voted and then what were the questions that were raised at land use? Can you go through that?
okay, yeah, so land use voted 5-1 withhold recommendations for this project due to new water use with 2 new bathrooms. Questions were raised at the land use meeting in consideration of the fact that this project, when previously submitted as a guest house, was officially abandoned by the owner. And then the agent, when they pulled their request from the Coastal Commission appeal hearing in December 2021, at that time they were proposing this project to be a guest house. This project first came to land use as an ADU, and then it came to us as a guest house, and now it's been again as an office space with the same configuration, with one visible exception: the sink and the shower in the space above the garage will be removed at a later time. So that was the discussion on it. If they would like to make any comments or anything, I think Jeff is here.
Okay, Jeff, you get time to be you are unmuted.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Jeff Edwards, and at this late hour, I'm not going to go through the history of this project. What I will tell you is what is before you this evening, and that is a home office addition on top of an existing garage, and the addition of a bathroom to a 2-bedroom, 1-bath residence. So the 2-bedroom, 1-bath residence will become a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home, which there are no limitations for the addition of bathrooms or even bedrooms in Los Osos. None whatsoever. The office there'll be a pair of offices above the garage. There will be a half bath in the office, with the pair of offices. These folks, they never wanted a guest quarters. They never wanted an ADU. They have 2 small businesses they own and operate. In a post-COVID era, to have offices of this nature, one being private, so you can have Zoom meetings, is a very natural thing. So how the water demand or water usage question ever came up, because I would respectfully submit, with this addition and remodel, there will be virtually no additional water use. So I don't know how that could be a basis for denial. So that's the project. I will tell you, it's in the coastal appealable zone, and the home office request is it's contemplated under section 2308-032 of the Coastal Zone Land Use Ordinance. And the home office may include facilities similar to a guest house, but they may not. And in this case, we are not asking for facilities similar to a guest house. So with that, there's no wet bar, there's no shower. I'm not sure, no sink, or it's just a sink and a toilet in the half bath. There's no additional wet bar, no shower in the upstairs office. So with that, I'll close and be available for any questions you have.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council? Okay, any questions from the public? No questions from the public.
I have a question. I actually have a question.
Yes.
So I see that land use has not recommended this for approval, even though based on what Corey's told us, it appears to satisfy requirements for a guest house. So am I to assume that you don't believe that they're really going to build an office? You really think it's still going to be something else, and that's why you didn't want to approve it?
No, it was not
I'm
approved
curious because
it was not approved because of water usage.
It's an office. It's a home office.
you mean because of the extra bathroom in the house?
The 2 bathrooms. That's why land use did not approve it, because of the 2 bathrooms that were being added.
Oh, okay.
Okay, just so we get that straight. But Sue,
All right. Thank you for that.
Deborah, I think we're trying to be consistent and understand that water usage is a serious thing. And although that they may not plan to use it in a way that would cause more water usage, essentially what they're doing is expanding their house to the point that someday, if they move away, when they move away, a larger family could easily be accommodated by a house that now has 2.5 baths instead of just 1, and more rooms. So we have to look ahead. We don't know, and we don't know what's going to happen in the future. And 2 of our local plans, one is it's the allowable table of something, I don't know, it's page 34, I can read you it, but it says that there's to be no construction of new water use until a time when the water can be proven to be sustainable. And right now, our water is not proven to be sustainable. Nobody can prove that it's sustainable. And it's being looked at by the Coastal Commission as not proven. So to allow a place to add 2 bathrooms is going against our coastal plans, our local coastal plans. And the county should not be giving out these permits when they cannot prove that our water supply is sustainable. So it's something that's written. We're not making it up or being, trying to deny anybody anything. It's just that the plans say we can't do it, and we're concerned. So we're,
you.
yes, thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. Patrick, keep it brief.
It's brief.
Thank you.
Just remember that you are not, nor is the county, the final arbiter. It is the Coastal Commission. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick. Jeff Edwards, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll wait till all the comments or questions are in, and then I'll just make a very brief remark.
All right, thank you. James.
Thanks. I think I understand what Sue is saying regarding the addition of a bathroom for this current family without additional bedrooms won't increase water usage. And the concern is that at some point in the future, there could be some scenario where the house is added onto and water is increased. I think from my perspective, that's permitting a potential, or that's attempting to regulate some potential future scenario, and that's not really what's question here. It's the permit that's at hand, or the residence that's at hand, not some future potential scenario. So I think that's a little bit of a reach on the behalf of the committee, but.
Thank you, James. Jeff, why don't you finish up, and I want to get it out to a motion.
And can I make a quick comment first?
Quick.
Oh, God, now you.
It's 9:25.
Yeah. Never. Let me go. It just got blown from my mind.
Okay.
sorry.
Jeff, do you want to do your last statement, and then we'll do a motion? Oh, Jeff is muted. Sorry. Asking you to unmute.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Jeff Edwards. I would like to reinforce the notion that bedrooms, the addition of bedrooms, are indicative of water demand, not bathrooms. And that's fairly widely recognized in professional circles. Bedrooms are indicating additional demand, not bathrooms. And then I will also just close by saying there has not been a bathroom addition denied in Los Osos, nor has your committee ever denied a bathroom addition. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, from the committee, Sue?
Just real quickly, I just wanted to say I'd like to make a motion if I could, but I'd like to say that we're not deny. I don't think we should vote to deny or recommend. Just withhold the recommendation until our water supply is known. So may I make a motion?
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion that we withhold a recommendation on this project because of the new usage of water. And yeah.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Okay, opposed? One, two. Sorry, Yael and James. So it would be Sandra, how are you voting?
Approve Jan's motion or Sue's motion to withhold.
So did anyone count that out? Okay,
no.
So approve Sue's motion. Your hands one more time.
Three of us.
Sue,
Three.
Larry, Sandra, opposed.
We have Jim, Lynette,
Opposed, Jan,
and Deborah.
Lynette, Deborah. Okay. All right.
James and I don't vote today. I'm still a member, but this is my last month.
Okay.
Otherwise I wouldn't
Then
be.
how do you vote?
I'm opposing Susan. Yeah.
Okay, and James, I guess you are voting.
He's not voting.
Yeah, I'm
He's
gonna
not
abstain.
voting.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 opposed, 1, 2, 3 approve, and 2 abstain. Trish and James. Okay.
Should another be motion made to, I don't know, like.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve this addition.
I'll second.
So we can just use the same people, correct? With the new motion.
Sure.
Let's do the vote.
Other question.
Sure.
Vote 'em.
Who was the second to Deborah's?
I was.
Okay. All right. Who approves Deborah's motion?
We have Jan, Lynette, Jim.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Deborah.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5. Opposed? 1, 2, 2.
2 opposed.
Yep.
So Sandra, you're not voting on this one?
Yeah, I'm not voting on this one.
Okay, so are you abstaining?
Yeah.
We have 3 abstain.
3 abstain. So, okay, so that means Sandra, okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5 approve.
Approve, and then 5 against, 2 against and 3 abstains.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's go down to business items. Appointment of replacement for retiring Councilmember Yael, and now I'm adding James to that. According to our bylaws, I need to set up a nominating committee. And what I was hoping is that the election committee that would be the nominating committee for appointing new members for Yael and James, since they are leaving in the middle of their term. Is that all right with the group, that the election committee become the nominating committee
Absolutely.
to appoint new council members for Yael's position and James' position?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Yes.
that The election committee become the nominating committee for the open positions.
Okay.
Second.
And a second from Jim. All in favor? Okay. Any opposed? Okay, passed. Thank you. The next thing is,
Trish,
yes.
just real quick, this is Jan.
Hi, Jan.
So James and Yael, if you know of anybody that would be interested and good,
call us.
Please let either Sue, myself, or Trish know. You know, and same thing with committee groups, if you know of somebody, because that's District 1 and 2.
Yep.
Will do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, blending both the Traffic and Circulation Committee and the Active Transportation Committee to become the Active Transportation and Circulation Committee.
I so move.
Okay.
I second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Sure.
Okay. All passed. Thank you. We're almost there, people. Approve the budget for election costs. Jan, I was thinking the only election cost would be probably on envelopes for the absentee. Do you agree?
Yeah. What about a ream of paper for printing?
Probably a ream of paper. Yep.
Well, and the printing from Dawn.
No,
right?
we're printing our own.
We'll print our own.
No. Okay.
No, is that what?
What's your
Wasn't Dawn creating something for the election committee, like a about the candidates? I thought we talked about that in outreach. No.
I think we did. Let's talk offline. We may have to bring this back to April.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll
I think we have $100 in the budget for, I'd have to go back and look at the original budget for the year, but I
Okay.
think there was money set aside for elections. Sounds like you guys are fine.
Yeah, I think there's money.
Fucking envelopes and yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Announcements of candidates for our district elections, May 7th. I want to let everybody know that in District 1, we have candidate Patrick Kimball. We also have Patrick McGibney, and we have Lynette Tenortsky for District 1. For District 2, we have Tom Cross and Kristen Horowitz. And at this time, we have no one for District 3 or 4. All of the above candidates have been vetted and everything has been received and reviewed by the election committee. So with the group's permission, I want the information from these candidates to go up on the website.
Move.
Yeah. Will somebody send it to me?
I will, either all on my email. I probably won't get it to you until Monday because I am traveling all weekend.
Okay.
Okay,
I have a question.
yes,
So there's 3 candidates in District 1 and 2 candidates in District 2.
correct.
And then Yael and James are each from that district.
Mhm.
So I mean, I guess this would be revisiting our bylaws, but. do
And
we
I
wanna-
did, I spent
Okay.
probably an hour on our bylaws, if not more. And that was a question I had sent out to you earlier, probably like a month or so ago. So if you are, according to our bylaws, which I don't have right here, if you are
Midterm, they would have to be appointed,
midterm, they
right?
have to be appointed, and both Yael and James are midterm.
So
So I'm
who are the
wondering, those
other?
are, I guess my question is, those are potential people we could appoint because they're
There are potential
interested.
people, correct.
Okay.
So who is the candidate? Is Larry in District 2 is running? Who is
Oh.
District 2 candidates are running for to replace who?
Tom
Jan
Cross and
Jan
Kristen
Harper
Horowitz.
is not continuing in District 2, and James has resigned. District
Sandra,
1,
who is
I'm in
Lynette is
3.
running, and you have resigned.
No, I know, but who is in District 2? Oh, Sandra?
Currently, Jan Harper and James
Oh,
Bishop.
Jen, yes, Jen. So they're running to replace Jane, and then somebody has to be nominated, assigned to replace James.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
So
So
yeah,
it-
like I agree with Sandra that the ones that don't get in the election can be assigned if they so want to.
But that means we wait 2 months.
Yeah, we
No.
need to,
No, we need
worth
to,
it.
Want to
we
do.
need to appoint next month. We need to appoint in April.
We had,
Thank you.
We need to appoint in April so that May we can have our elections. And then we may have to appoint after that if we don't have someone running in 3 and 4.
can I ask a very unpleasant question about people, some certain members that are missing too many meetings? What are you planning on doing?
Well, everyone who is going to be remaining,
Yeah, but
Are-
there are people
are-
that do not attend meeting and don't participate on any committee. And I know that this is a struggle for you guys, but
and I know who you're talking about, but he's not running.
I know, but as a council, we should do something about it. We should have done it a long time ago. And
starting in
time I bring
May,
it up, I'm being made to feel like I'm an awful person. And I know that it's uncomfortable, but somebody, I guess, has. to
It's
make-
something we gotta stick to as with the new council. I agree, Yael. We have
So now it's
to,
with
we
the
have
new
to hold.
council.
Well, Tim's not running again. He's done. He's off the council
he's off.
in May. So,
Oh, okay, that's good.
yeah.
Okay, that's a
So
good point. No,
so
no,
there's
thank
not
you.
anything
So
we
I
can do
don't
about
want to
it.
do
Yeah.
anything
That's
knowing the fact
fine.
that he's
That's
off
fine.
in 2 months.
This can wait until May. I mean, I think the whole thing can wait until May. We should not nominate.
No, we have to according to bylaws next month, so we will. We're trying to
Okay.
follow our bylaws.
can I make a motion? We adjourn?
Yes. Thank
Yes.
you all for
Bye.
very good.
Ready?
I'll second.
This is a real buy.
Uh,
Okay.
Bye, Al.
Good job,
Bye,
Trish.
James.
um,
Thank
Bye.
you.